Meghan Markle has relaunched her Instagram career, and I think this one might end up being a pretty epic failure. We already have some good indicators, some good metrics that Meghan Markle's favorability, her popularity, has taken a really, really big hit since leaving the royals. In fact, I would argue that she has lost 80% of her market share in many ways. And we see this just in how many people are following the account. And there's really nothing on it yet. But what we can see so far is some pretty abysmal branding practices. There is a logo that is nonsensical. I can't even totally tell if it makes sense. It's on a white background, so you have a pale logo on a white background. You can hardly even see it. And she has a really nonsensical video on there that shows her arranging flowers in the kitchen and then randomly in a black gown on her veranda, as if we all, when we have time, go out in $5,000 gowns and sit on our verandas. I don't know about you, but that's definitely not what I want to do. So I already think, just initially in her initial launch, just this little bit, the brand is an epic mess. And we are going to go into this because I am no branding expert. I will make that wildly clear. However, I have built a brand from nothing. I built Royal News Network on the back of absolutely nothing. I created the logo, I created the name, and because of that, it's done really, really well because I utilized some pretty good brand practices, which Meghan Markle completely ignored here, and her team. They have competitors essentially that's using almost the same name as them, and as well, they can't even shorten it to make it somewhat more palatable. It's completely and utterly convoluted. It is terrible brand practices. I think someday down the line, there will be a classroom where people dissect the awfulness of all the Sussex brands. So we are going to go into this today, but if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network, my name is Brittany and I provide you all compelling royal commentary about the latest news, sometimes the drama going on behind the scenes. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, that would be absolutely fantastic. I would love to have you back. In addition, I also have a relationship with Anna Lucia Diamonds. You see my little butterfly pendant. Today I wanted to wear that. So the earrings are not from them except for those, but I just do absolutely love this pendant. I think this is so fun and I love their pieces. So I will link this one down below and some others as well if you are interested. And I also have an upcoming trip to Scotland. There is a link down below in the description for that as well. Okay guys, so I was not planning on doing a video today besides the one I had edited and posted earlier. I was like, okay, I'm done. I can do other things. I really wanted to work on my podcast, but no, Meghan Markle, oh, she doesn't want me to work on this podcast because she finally launches her social media brand. And I was floored at how bad it is. Again, guys, I'm not a branding expert, but I know enough to recognize some really seriously terrible practices here. Things that I'm just shocked. I'm like, how did this get through? But I think it goes back to the thing that we've heard time and time again about Meghan, which is that she is a control freak and she really doesn't know what she's doing because it shows here. It shows that Meghan Markle had her handprints all over it. And I think another branding manager or somebody who knows what they're doing would have come up with something much, much better because it's unclear what this brand stands for, what it's going to do. You have to literally look into the trademarks to get an idea of what this brand is going to do. And the branding itself is just terrible. And just to compare, so you have an idea of what I did, because I created this from nothing. Royal News Network was entirely my idea. I created everything about it pretty much. And it was a labor of love in a lot of ways, but I instituted some really good brand practices. Because number one, when it came to the name, I wanted something that was easy to recognize, that conveyed the broader goal of the channel. Because yes, you could say I talk about Harry and Meghan way too much, and I agree with you, but they are sort of fascinating to dissect. But at the same time too, there is a broader mission here. So I wanted a name that even when I started, even though necessarily I wasn't totally fulfilling the initial objective, that the end goal was reflected in the name, which is Royal News Network. Now I could have gone with something, and I do technically have, I would almost call it a personal, but it's not really because it is public, but a account I will eventually use because at some point my Twitter account will eventually become more of a news commentary outlet. And if I have more personal things, I will put it on this other channel. It's called Royally Brittany. So I could have gone with initially Royally Brittany, but it didn't convey the message that I wanted. And I took an example from CNN, which stands for Cable News Network. And I thought, you know what? Royal News Network, RNN, it's easy to remember, it's not complicated, and it's something that conveys the overall message, which is at some point, I want this to be the #1 news outlet in the world. And yes, you could say I'm not fulfilling those goals right now, but I'm only one singular person. I edit all my videos myself. I do all the social media. I do all the writing. I do everything for this channel, guys. I do everything. That is a lot. So I wanted that. And then when it came to the logo, I actually wanted something very, very simple, something that I could utilize in multiple different ways. And so what I did is I looked through an app that I had that you could create essentially a logo. I was like, you know what? I want a crown. So I searched through and I found a crown, because what do royals stand for? What do we think about royals? We think of crowns. We think, I have a little, we think of crowns. So I wanted something that signified this. And then I thought to myself, well, it can't just be a floating crown. Let's put a circle around it. Because I was thinking of news networks. I was taking examples from those sorts of things. It's like, okay, so what could the logo be that makes sense? And I settled on a circle with a crown in the middle. And I chose a particular crown because I thought it worked. I really liked it. And that is what I came up with. And I came up with a color palette. It was actually something suggested to me by Adobe because I was working with that. And I had this color palette with these colors and I'm like, okay, I like these colors. I feel like they're dignified. There's blues, there's burgundies, and there's a cream. And so I feel like this palette works really well. And so when it came to royal fashion news, so I took sort of the news element that I had in this initial channel and put that over in royal fashion news. And again, name simple, royal fashion news. Now granted, again, I don't get to that channel as much as I should. I do have a tiara video up there though about Princess Grace if you're interested. And so I have royal fashion news, simple, easy to remember. And then I took what I had from the main channel, which was the crown and the circle, and I changed the color. So it's a burgundy background with a cream crown, where the other one is a blue background, a dark blue background with a cream crown. And I actually tell you exactly the colors of each of those. I can tell you right now exactly what that blue is. And I stick with that blue throughout the whole color palette. And there's other colors. So I actually created a podcast logo like a long time ago for something different. So I'll probably go back to that and I'll create the new logo for the podcast I want to do, which will be again in the same community, but different. And so again, it all works and melds together in a really, really great way. And I did ask a business guy who's been very, very successful, and he was really impressed. And he thought, yeah, looks good. I wouldn't change anything about it. He said he maybe would get my own individual fonts or something like that. Like there's a couple of things I can do. I probably need to do some behind the scenes things regarding it, but it all works. Meghan's thing does not work. Number one, the logo. Tell me right now, what does that logo stand for? It's got a lot of squiggly lines. It seems to have an M in it, maybe a P or an R, maybe an A. I can't really see the O. I don't understand. There's too much going on in that logo. Good logos are simple. Apple is an apple with a bite out of it. You have Target, which is literally a Target. Walmart doesn't really have, you could say a logo, it's more the name, maybe like a star or something. It has like a little something that's kind of Walmart. Tesla has its little logo and icon. Twitter, obviously you have the bird, now you have X because it's now X. You have Facebook with the F for Facebook. You have Instagram with the camera. When you're creating a good brand, you need a good logo, something that is simple and easy for people to remember, and also identifies what the brand is to a certain extent. Now, yes, you could say Apple doesn't really because it's an Apple and obviously you have a computer. But as you grow, it started off with Macintosh, we have Mac computers, like it all sort of works together. And you look at Meghan's logo, and I don't know what it stands for. I don't even know what it's saying or trying to convey. Again, you have this convolutedly long name, American Riviera Orchard, which we'll get there. But just the logo itself doesn't convey any of that information because you can't even read into it those particular things. And I have a strong feeling Meghan probably designed it, but she overdid it. Again, simplicity in a lot of ways is what functions here. And now we get to the name. The name is awful. The name is absolutely horrendously awful. It's long. There's no good way to shorten it. Shorten it could only be A-R-O. I mean, again, compared to Royal News Network, R-N-N, rolls off the tongue, A-R-O. I don't know. But you could shorten it technically to, I guess, American Riviera. The problem is that signifies actual geographical location. Some people say there's a couple of places like Panama City in Florida that it represents, and other people report that it's Santa Barbara, that's the American Riviera. So regardless, you're talking about a physical location. And then when you put American Riviera into Google, what you get is the American Riviera Bank in Santa Barbara. You almost get the impression she stole the name from a bank. Like, could you not think of anything else? Were you driving by? Do you use American Riviera Bank? Is that how you came up with it? Like, was there no other, like, option? And obviously she has to say establishing a Montecito. And again, so it's this weird, like, exclusivity thing. And yet, for a brand to generally be good, it needs to be accessible. And you consider comparing it to something like Goop. Goop, simple name. And what I think of, especially once the brand really start going, is that's about wellness, beauty, those sorts of things. And so I think of Goop on my face. Like when you put Goop on your face at night, when you clean your face and stuff, you put Goop on, right? Goop works. Goop 100% works. And just the name Goop, again, it works. Like, you don't have to like the brand, but the branding is good. This is not good branding. The name is far too long, and you can't shorten it to American Riviera because you're either talking about a geographical location, something else, it doesn't pop up in Google. And to me, it's like one of the things I do, and I've thought about a couple of different things throughout my time. And so what I do when I'm thinking of an idea for a brand or something, because I had one I wanted to do just on history at one point, didn't really come to fruition, but you know what I do? Not only do I check Instagram handles, which I think is the only thing Meghan Markle checked, I go and I check Google. I put the name into Google and I see, who am I competing with? And if I was Meghan Markle and if I was thinking American Riviera Orchard, I wouldn't think of that because that's way too long and it's an awful name. But I was looking at that and I put in American Riviera Orchard and I'm coming up with American Riviera Bank, I would think to myself, you know what, maybe that's not a good name. Maybe we should come up with something that doesn't automatically refer to something else. There's also American Riviera Media. There is a jewelry line that has an American Riviera sub-brand. So this name is used quite a bit. It's too saturated. Good names and good companies have a unique individual name. Theranos, collapsed, but still, the name is good. The name is good. And Tesla, you could say it's Nikola Tesla, but you could say that the Tesla, because Nikola Tesla was a pioneer of electricity, of communications, of technology and all these things, and they use the name Tesla for the cars, like, it kind of works because you're talking about electric cars and, like, again, the branding works. The branding here does not work. It doesn't work. And apparently she's going to be selling like cookware, cookbooks. She's going to be selling actual like preservatives and maybe wine or something. I don't know. But it seems like there should be like a physical location. Maybe? I just don't know. Again, good branding is clear and concise. And then you get to the video, which does not inform you in any way, shape, or form what she is actually doing. So go ahead and watch this. I will take out the sound just because I don't know if that's copyrighted or not, and you can see some of this. So we start off with flower arranging, fine. Then we get to cooking, okay. And then we get to a woman standing outside in a gown on her veranda. And it's sort of actually Italian music, so it almost sort of reminds you of like the Olive Garden. I was like, were you guys eating at the Olive Garden when you were inspired by that? But I see, especially just a picture of her in the gown on the veranda. What message is that trying to convey? Because that is just, it's a stupid look. It makes her look haughty, arrogant, out of touch, disconnected. It's not an inviting look. It's not an inviting look for the brand. So what message is her in a dress going to convey? I get the flower arranging. I get the cooking. I don't get the gown on the veranda. That just looks dumb. It just looks incredibly dumb. Now, it would have been cooler maybe if she should have worn a sundress at some point and like walking out and like smiling at the camera and like kind of doing a twirl or something. That maybe I would get. But I almost feel like it's so pretentious that it's not even clear what it's standing for. It's so pretentious it doesn't even have like a direction. And again, terrible branding on Meghan Markle's part. But she's had a track record of this because here's the things that she has branded. The TIG. Awful name. Nobody knows what that means but her. Supposedly for a TIG moment. Like she was trying to make fetch happen. It didn't happen. The TIG didn't happen. So that was an epic train wreck. Then you have Sussex Royal. Now I actually thought for a while Sussex Royal was kind of their brilliant moment, but sometimes when I think about that, it's sort of cliche and it's sort of lowbrow in a way. So I do take that off of, it's okay, but it's not great either. And then you have Archwell. Nobody knows what that means. When you hear that, it doesn't inspire anything. It's dumb. It's like, oh, we named him for Archie because you mix arch and well and you get Archwell. I'm like, what? Doesn't even make any sense. And then you have archetypes. Instead of, there's stereotypes or something. It's like, so are you trying to riff off of Archwell? But here's the thing too. Meghan Markle, and somebody mentioned this on Twitter, and I apologize if I don't mention who you are, but what Meghan Markle failed to do is pull the brand through all the brands. If Archetypes was referencing Archwell, then that connection and that branding should have been similar than it was, and it wasn't. It was totally different branding. Because what you want, again, like what I've created, and I want to do a history channel at some point. I may actually do a channel just dedicated to the other European royals because those videos don't generally do all that well on the main channel, but I think they do really well on a separate channel. I may do more shorts, and I may create a shorts specific channel for that, because some people do that. So, way too many channels, that's the thing. But I love the idea of expanding, but everything would reference the internal brand, because that's what you do. Royal News Network is the canopy. I actually have a name for like the overall thing that I won't share, but the name for the Royal News Network, the Royal News Network is a big umbrella where Royal Fashion News, maybe a different one for European royals. We have one for history. We maybe have one for shorts, maybe Asian royals, and then maybe Middle Eastern royals at some point. All those branches will redirect and be under the umbrella of Royal News Network. But if Archwell was supposed to be a umbrella over archetypes or archetypes, like none of it connects at all. And then, of course, we do have now the office of Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, which is also a mouthful and a little silly because they're not an office. They're basically two people grifting around for money. That's essentially what they're doing, and attempting to try to look charitable. So that doesn't really explain what they're doing. They sound like politicians. Again, terrible, terrible branding. This could all be avoided with decent branding, which Meghan just can't seem to do. And looking at what we see so far, it's not much, to be granted, but it's just sort of banal, boring, and uninspired. I've always been on the opinion, and I've said this many times, I don't think Meghan Markle is a particularly creative person. And I think this is reflected in it. The brand name is bad, it's uninspired. It looks like literally she stole it from the local bank, because she lives in Montecito, Santa Barbara area. So I have no doubt she knows what this bank is. They might even bank there, for Pete's sake. And not to mention the fact, what if American Riviera Bank goes under and they're associated with, like come on. Come on, it's not separate enough. Because here's the thing too is Royal News Network, yes, it is sort of generic, but it's also somewhat specific. When I feel like you use American Riviera, it's just very, very specific. It denotes a particular place. It denotes a particular idea, but not one associated with whatever brand Meghan Markle is trying to create because it already exists. What you want to do is create something entirely different. Again, she just can't seem to do that. And what we see is just nothing interesting. Even the video, boring. We've seen flowers before. That's the whole Magnolia brand. And we've seen, obviously, cooking before. We have Martha Stewart Living, which again, is a good brand name because Martha Stewart is the brand. She's in Martha Stewart Living. It works. The thing with Meghan does not work from what we can see so far. And again, the branding leaves a lot to be desired. I see that and I go, what is she trying to convey? Because your branding, your messaging should always be there. Your understanding of your perception of what the future is going to look like should always be available to everyone, but it's just not here. It's not. So Meghan Markle has a real problem. And the trademarks for this have just been filed. So they've been filed maybe about a month or two ago. A couple people pulled them up. And of course, the LLC is called Mama Knows Best because the entire Harry and Meghan household is run by Meghan Markle and solely Meghan Markle. Harry is just a little decoration there that's in the corner that she gives him praise from time to time for existing. But most of the time he's there just to lend her his title, his influence, his family, all those sorts of things so Meghan Markle can make money. And Mama Knows Best would actually technically be a better brand name. I think it's overly used, so I don't think it would totally work But it denotes to me that this is all about Meghan. This is all about Meghan. And she just filed this brand name. They just grabbed the handle for this Instagram in January. I double checked. And so you have this whole thing and you're wondering, was this rushed? Because again, simple things in the branding process were missed here. The logo is not good. They have competition where they should not have competition. They should not have it. I don't really have any competition. I mean, technically I do, but in terms of the name, I don't really have any because CNN is now known more by CNN. So I don't really have a competition with them. And we do different things anyway. So again, not really a competition going on here. So I don't know what she is supposed to denote here. I don't know how she's going to be interesting compared to all the other people in the world who do this sort of thing. And I think that's going to hurt Meghan in the long run. And in fact, Meghan has already hurt her brand severely. Because when it comes to looking at the Instagram followers, it's great. For most people, this would be unbelievable. She has 230 some odd. Let me see what the latest update is. 247. So she's almost at 250,000 followers, which is great. But here's the thing. 6 hours in, she only had about 200 or some odd, between 200 and 230. I think more like 212 or something. That's when I screenshotted it when I was on one of our members only live stream. And we used Colin for the first time today, which was so awesome. And I'll do a larger members only live stream at some point so more people can enjoy that. And I usually do live streams on Saturday, but I won't open it up to the call feature just because I don't really want to, because it could get really messy really quickly. So we won't do that. But for members, yes, it is there. So when looking at the growth of the channel, yes, it is good, but it's not as good as Sussex Royals was. Her brand image, you could say, has taken an 80-point hit since leaving the Royals. Because when they launched their initial count in 2018, 2019, I think it was 2019, right before the birth of Archie, they gained 1 million followers in 5 hours and 45 minutes. At the time, it was a Guinness Book of World Records. Now, she can only bring in 20% of that. She can only bring in 20% within the same time frame. That is really, really worrying. If I was an outsider looking in, I'd go, okay, this is still good, but not as good as it was. Your brand image needs a rehab because that is obviously, you see the decline in her brand profile right now. It exists already. Her brand has taken a hit because of her and Harry and their actions. Because of her vindictive campaign against the Royals, her brand has 100% taken at least an 80-point hit because of it. And yes, obviously Sussex Royal was a brand of theirs together, but again, this is sort of her coming out on social media and it's not as good as it was. It's not as good. So I'm sure she's happy, but I'm also thinking she was thinking that maybe she would break Jennifer Aniston's record because of course, Jennifer Aniston broke their records getting to 1 million followers. That's only like a couple months later. They held that record for a very short period of time. And so now you have this reality where already Meghan Markle, she's growing her fans there on Instagram, but it's definitely not as good as it was. And we also have, I want to play this video, Meghan Markle saying just last week that she keeps her distance from social media. So go ahead and take a listen here.
So how have you been able to manage the seemingly endless toxicity that comes at you?
Yes, social media is a environment that I think has a lot of that. You know, it's really interesting as I can reflect on it. I keep my distance from it right now just for my own well-being.
Okay, so Meghan Markle said this, and then literally the next week, 6 days later, she gets back on Instagram. And she also turns off the comments, and you also cannot see how many people actually liked the pictures. You cannot see that. Again, they're masking what is actually going on here. Although you can scroll through all the people who liked, and it's actually a very small number, to be honest. I was really surprised. I thought I would be having to scroll forever, and I really didn't have to scroll that much. But there's not much there, so I don't know why people would click on them. Anyways, some people did though. But here's the critical thing here. Meghan, again, has seen her market share decrease. She's seen her brand devalued because of her. Her own actions have tanked her brand. And it's not helped in the slightest when she decides to launch it today, which was the Diana Awards. The woman couldn't even let her dead mother-in-law have a day to give awards out via her sons. She upstaged not only her dead mother-in-law, who she supposedly loves and is so great and named her daughter after. No. She also upstages her own husband and her brother-in-law. Her brother-in-law is not a surprise, but she upstaged her own husband. So go ahead and take a listen to a little bit of Prince William's speech here on his mother and the Diana Awards.
I'm thoroughly delighted, as always, to be here to recognise the transformational achievements of 20 exceptional young people from across the world. Each and every one of their stories, which you will hear shortly, are testament to their character, their passion, and their determination to make a lasting and meaningful difference to the lives of others. But this evening's Legacy Award is particularly special as it marks the 25th anniversary year of the Diana Award, a charity set up to reflect my mother's belief that young people can change the world. She taught me that everyone has the potential to give something back, that everyone in need deserves a supporting hand in life. That legacy is something that both Catherine and I sought to focus on through our work, as have the 50,000 young people who have received the Diana Award over the past 25 years.
So I think that's awesome. I think William is doing a fantastic job. And obviously he's had a lot of stress this week. And nothing is helped by Meghan Markle trying to upstage him by launching her social media post. Why couldn't it have been tomorrow? Why did it have to be today? Why did it have to be today? And again, I think it goes to the thing of Meghan Markle can't let anybody else have a smidge of the spotlight. I mean, even upstaging your own husband, like that's his mother's, his dead mother's, like the woman who consumes his mind, besides you, the other woman who consumes his mind. This is an award to recognize her legacy. And you have to upstage it by posting a video of you in a kitchen and in a ball gown on a veranda for no stinking reason. Again, this shows you who Meghan Markle truly is. And I think the ultimate irony of all this is that Meghan Markle left her influencer career, which was a side hustle from her acting career because she was a pretty bad actress. So she side hustled with an Instagram and a website called The Tig, which did pretty well, but I'm sure it's not the gangbusters she wants people to believe it was. And then she married into royalty, the pinnacle of social climbing. You can't get any higher than royalty. Maybe you can get in line with an emperor, but that's it. The pinnacle of the social sphere is royalty. There's no place you can go higher. And she did that for a couple of years, or not even 2 years, just like a year and a half. And then she abandoned it to go back to the thing she was doing before, which was being an Instagram influencer. How shallow do you have to be to spend time with the royals, Her Majesty the Queen, historic people, and decide that the best future for you is I'm going to be an Instagram influencer again? Now, honestly, I think this is the one career path Meghan Markle could kind of sort of be successful at. She's not a great producer. She's not a great creative. And so this may be somewhat successful for her. But the sad thing is she could have had so much more. But Meghan Markle is a shallow, vain, and vapid person, in my opinion. And this lifestyle and this world totally and completely suits her because she has really not that much else to offer in a lot of ways, because she tries to share with us these meaningless platitudes about the fight for women's rights, even though I can do anything pretty much a man can do in this country. Let's be real. There's certain physical things I cannot do because I can't compete with a man in that way, but I can compete with a man in any way here on YouTube. I don't feel the oppressive force of the patriarchy anywhere, but Meghan Markle does, and she does this by undermining her husband. And I just have to wonder, what does the future look like for Harry? If Meghan has this brand, if Meghan has a podcast deal, where does Harry fit into all this? Because he's increasingly looking like the odd man out. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of Meghan Markle's brand here. I'd love to get your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you soon. Bye.